Hello. As you can see from the background, I've been rolling the dice. My table, oh, wrong way. This is always backwards. I forget. My table always looks like such a mess. And you can see there's a pile of clothes at the kitchen table and a hat also. And the reason for that is we're in the middle of a solar storm. But locally, where I am, we're also in the middle of some sort of windstorm, which I was walking around earlier in with bare feet on. The multiple layers there are there because I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm hot and I'm cold in a sort of Katy Perry sort of way. So, hello and welcome. If you're not sure why I am off my rocker, because maybe you're new here, or if I seem more off the rocker than I normally do, this is going to start bugging me. I have to have the fan on right now. I am both in a tank top and a wool sweater, so we'll see how long that lasts. There's nobody here. What should I do to entertain you while I'm waiting? There you are. Well, hello, Inspired Renegade, aka Rennie. It still says there's 0 people here, even though I can see you're commenting. So, how dare I come on here and try to make a live video in the middle of a um, universal solar storm coming from our sun and also a windstorm here. It was crazy, crazy, crazy windy earlier today. I never know what to do with my stuff because I have my paper here and I have my notes, and now I have incorporated a microphone. Rennie, since you're the only person here, how is the sound right now? Because the microphone is way away from me. I guess I could take my keyboard away instead of. Oh. But you see, I have props and I have things to show you. And I decided not to mess with my ring light because it's been the bone of contention and many issues. And then, of course, I have to have my glass of water too. So, sound is good. Okay. Whoa. It's not a very big desk. I'm going to have to upgrade. This is actually not even a desk to begin with. It's actually a sofa table. When I came back to town and I had gotten rid of some of my furniture and only saved the things I knew that I could never replace, I bought sofa tables. Initially, I was eating dinner off a sofa table. And so my office, so my desk is a sofa table, and I have all this computer equipment, the ring light, which I've decided not to use because it almost decidedly falls over in every single video. Now I have a microphone. I usually will pull cards and ask if there's anything else I need to know. Then I have 2 notebooks here and some other things as well. So it looks like 2 people are here. So let's rock and roll that beautiful bean footage, as the dog would say, in the Bush's Beans commercial. If anybody remembers that, it's one of my all-time favorites. It's the family secret, and nobody knows except for the dog. And he's not telling. And the dog says, roll that beautiful bean footage. I'm about to get a dog, and I'm very excited about that. Okay, there's 2 of you here. Let's rock and roll with this. Where to start? Anybody who's watching this later on replay, or anybody who is here jumping on at the last moment that hasn't seen the last video, some parts of this video are going to seem real confusing. I'm going to keep eating my hair this entire video because I have the fan on. Parts of this video are going to be very confusing if you haven't seen the last video. Also, in order to have my microphone, I had to take my camera away and use the camera that came with this. So now I have that slanted down because otherwise I'm sitting like a kindergartner under the table who can't quite reach. Okay, so let's roll this beautiful bean footage. If you are someone that is watching this and have not watched the last video, I do realize that it was a lot of information. It was an hour and 40 minutes long. Some parts of this may not make sense or may not make complete sense if you haven't watched that. So I do suggest that you watch that. Okay. So let's begin. Every year I make about 800 gingerbread cookies, which involves so much labor and so much rolling of dough, and dough being happen to be the perfect temperature. And what I spend probably 5 days, and I mean like 10, 12-hour days pumping out these cookies like a Keebler elf over here. So 3 years ago, I started this little tradition. I have this box right here, and you can see it says us on it. So I started this 3 years ago. And what I do when I'm done icing 6, 7, 800 cookies, I take the best of every style of cookie that I did, and I save them for us. As it says, it's labeled for us, right? Because what I used to do the first 27 years I made these cookies, what I used to do was pump out cookies like the Keebler elf, and then I would pack them up, and then I would give myself some of what is left. And 3 years ago, I'm like, why am I doing that? I'm the one that should have the pick, right? Because I'm the one that spent 50 hours pumping out cookies like an elf. So all the prettiest cookies are for me, or for us, I should say. So it just keeps coming back to 12. When I was 12 years old, my mom and my uncle watched a show about the crystal skulls. And I don't remember the name of the show. It was so long ago, it was actually a VHS. I was 12. So when would that have been? That would have been 1982. Me, my mom, and my mom's brother sat down and watched this show about the crystal skulls. I was so, I was 12 and I was so over the top excited about this kind of stuff. I was never interested in what the other teenagers were doing. I was hanging out in crystal shops, meditation rooms, listening to psychics, um, jumping into prayer circles, and talking to people who were channelers at an age where I didn't even know what channeling meant. I knew there were 13 crystal skulls, and I knew they were somewhere. When my mom died this year, 3 days before my birthday, on October 23rd, I opened up her jewelry box, and there is a picture of the Mitchell Hedges skull, which was found in Venezuela in 1924 by Mitchell Hedges. And I don't know if he had a wife, because the whole story about Mitchell Hedges that I watched, I still remember it from when I was 12, was about him and his daughter, and how he had found this skull. So when my mom died, I found this postcard of the in her jewelry box, and I brought it back home with me. And it was, ironically, the famous Mitchell Hedges skull that was found in Venezuela in 1924. I also brought from my mom's, on top of her jewelry box, this crystal, which is absolutely amazing. And I don't know, I keep going backwards because if you can see how big this is, okay? Those that have been following me for a couple years know that I have multiple streams of energy, influence, and channels open to information. I have been that way for a long time. But I do want to tell you that refinding this postcard has had re-sparked something in me. Not that I ever forgot or ever could forget about the 13 crystal skulls, but in the aftermath and all that went on with my mom passing, I kind of just brought the postcard, or what I thought was a postcard, home and stuck it on the refrigerator, and I brought this home with me as well. So I had this. Oh, I know this is going to be an issue trying to hold this still. Okay. This thing was 11 pounds and 6 ounces. Okay. So this has been on the refrigerator since my mom died on October 23rd. And because I had the reminder of this, and because I brought back this in the middle of, I would say, November, after the planning of the funeral and everything was over, I started laying down with this at night. First of all, I have a copper belt, which is, you can see, huge, right? The copper belt is for pulling in a pure frequency, that which overrides the disturbance of dirty electricity, such as the washer, the dryer, the refrigerator, the Wi-Fi that's happening in my house, all those things. So I have the crystal skull on the refrigerator, and I'm thinking to myself that it's a postcard, but I had started to talk to this particular crystal, and talking to crystals is not a new area of communication. I talk to crystals and the soil and the birds that I feed out my window and the trees and everything else more than I talk to humans. But tonight, when I felt called to start the video this way, I went and got this off the refrigerator. And when I turned it over, it says quartz crystal skull discovered on F.A. Mitchell Hedges expedition in Lebantum, British Honduras in 1924. The articulated life-size skull is made from a single piece of quartz crystal weighing 11 pounds and 7 ounces. As I have this in my hand reading it, I don't even know if you can see this. Can you see the writing? Because I thought this was a postcard, and it's not a postcard. This is an actual photograph of the Mitchell Hedges skull from 1924. And on the back it says, photograph copyright 1986 by Norma J. Benzie and Anna Mitchell Hedges, which is his daughter. Yeah. And it says number 7 on the back of it. So my mom and her brother were real into the spiritual community of starting back in the 80s. So I'm guessing they probably went to some sort of workshop or something. I doubt this was there, but probably Anna or someone in the family close to her. She has the skull still, as far as I know. They gave a chat about it and probably were selling the numbered photographs. So yeah, I think that means skull number 7, unless that's a photograph number 7. I mean, 1982, it's like if you let people sign up for this kind of stuff now, I'm sure you would have quite a few people there. In the 80s, this was not such a popular thing when my mom and my brother we're into that. Let me move things away here because I'm done with them. The skull is actually a life-size skull. I don't know if you mean that small, Rennie, or you're talking about the writing itself. So, I can change the visibility and stuff on this no matter what I do. I guess people just don't get notified, so I'm not sure what that's about. So, there is so much. Yes, the writing is small. It looks like I mean, it looks like a typewriter, but it would have been it looks smaller than type that you see in most books and stuff like that. So, where I'm going with this is I have the picture of the skull, crystal skull on the refrigerator. I know it's there. I think it's a postcard. I'm not realizing. And everything is energy and everything has a vibration. So if I was coming to you here with the crystal skull in my lap or in my hands, the computer would probably just fizzle out and melt. But knowing that everything has a certain vibration and a certain frequency, there's going to be way different of a frequency between like a copy of a photograph, a postcard, and an actual picture. And I was wondering why the energy was so strong because I brought I think the Crystal and the Mitchell Hedges photograph back here probably at the end of October, beginning of November, end of October when we were cleaning out my mom's apartment. So, in saying that, there's definitely a higher frequency or a more resonant frequency with the photograph than there would be an actual photograph of a photograph that is then um, turned into a postcard. Nonetheless, um, this crystal and that picture were not in the house very long before I started doing things I had never done before. And the first thing that I had never done before was I laid down with this crystal in my hands. I do meditation probably way differently than most people, but I laid down with this almost 4-inch crystal in my hand. And I said directly to this crystal, I said, "You're clear quartz and therefore have the ability to tap in and correspond and communicate with the 13 crystal skulls." So let's roll that beautiful bean footage. Okay. That's really where this started. And I've always been a channel and I've always picked up information. But from the time I put that crystal skull in my refrigerator and the time that I started talking to this and saying, "I know you're connected to the crystal skulls. Let's connect into the crystal skulls." And I was looking for, initially, I was looking for certain information, but then I just was saying to this crystal, "We're going to tap into the 13 crystal skulls. Whatever it is, it's important for me to know right now. Let's just rock and roll with that." So, yes. So I started connecting in on that, which explains a lot because the information that's coming through, normally when I make a video, I am sitting down with one or two notes and I might pull a couple of cards to say, "Hey, what goes along with this energy?" But I'm not sitting around writing page after page after page after page of information. And a lot of that had to do with the merge. Now we're going to go into the information that I've received since I made the last video. So again, if you're watching this on replay and haven't seen the last video, um, you'll definitely want to do that. Okay, so within this hologram, and I feel like I talk about this a little bit too much, there are things that are organic, like you and I, like fruit on a tree, like your animals, perhaps some of your family. And there are things that are synthetic. And people always feel like, I should talk to everybody and I should plant seeds and push information. But what I think I've tried to get across to people on multiple occasions is everybody is not running on the same program. Now, you can meet someone and invite them to your baby shower, and they'll say, congratulations on having your first newborn child, and congratulations on getting married. This is a beautiful baby shower. And you'll be thinking to themselves, well, this person is just like me. Has that Eminem song? They act like me, they talk like me, they walk like me, but they're not me. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? You cannot tell an artificial or synthetic being from yourself unless you go in depth with them. Okay, so we think because we are at a technological level on this planet, not where we really are, but where we are told that we are, we feel that, okay, if someone is synthetic or this is not a human being that I'm interacting with or working with or perhaps married to, I would know that, right? A computer doesn't care. They're not going to congratulate you on your baby shower, things like that. But the thing is, they are built just like you. I mean, skin and organs and pumping electromagnetic heart center and everything else. The difference is they're running on a different program. So we were all built to run on a program. And part of our program is an artificial intelligence. Where do you think they got the idea from artificial intelligence? Originally, all beings within this universe, multiverse, and omniverse were spirit or light body forms. We were tricked or coerced into taking up a physical body. And sometimes when we're tricked or coerced, it is for the benefit. So I'm not saying this from a negative standpoint. I'm just telling you it is the case. We were like the Elohim, for lack of a better word or a better term. But we were a human, we were a consciousness, a light body. Basically, at that point, what there was in existence in our capacity of the human was not the same as it is now. It was a soul essence, but it was without a body. And again, we were tricked or coerced um, into a physical body so that we could work, so that we could produce money and goods and labor and services. This probably is not a shock to anyone. So if you are working with or married to, or even could even be people in your family, it's very likely that a family as a whole is going to be either already hot, organic or inorganic. So you're not going to say, okay, well, Tina is this, but everybody else in the family is this. That can be pretty unlikely, but it depends what we signed up for. Let me not get off track and make this into another 3-hour video. The reason why I'm telling you this is very important to walk a balanced, patient, moderate line when we're dealing with this. And the reason for that is I'm not saying that you want to go around and act like all these people that you know are synthetic human beings and they're not worth your time. They're not whatever. Every person has their role in this. Okay. And it was necessary, I felt like, to set up a backstory so that you could understand where I'm going with this, because there's a lot of planetary static and there's a synthetic hologram. And along with that synthetic hologram, there comes synthetic humans, okay? And all sorts of other things that fall into that category. Now, I'm saying we must absolutely take the patient, moderate, balanced route with this, and not just assume that because someone's not aware of this certain thing that they are less than. And I'm not saying that we don't interact and co-create with this people. We all come from source in one way or another. We are all a very important part of this planet, but it's really important for us to know the difference between static, synthetic, AI generated things in our reality and what I will call SI. Okay, so maybe you perhaps are picking up on things in the hologram that are static or synthetic. Okay, the way I will say this, and probably many of you have noticed this, a lot of people talk about when this ascension thing starts, that they can't eat certain things anymore, they can't drink alcohol anymore, they can't freebase anymore. I'm just kidding. You got to have humor somewhere, right? But so maybe you, not maybe, I know you have picked up that there are synthetic things in this hologram. There are synthetic things in this reality. Now, when I say it's synthetic, it doesn't mean you can't touch it, taste it. It doesn't mean you can't even procreate, work with this person, or even create babies with this person. And perhaps the easiest way I can say this to you is to say this. If you feel like, and I know you are, picking up things in the hologram that are static or synthetic, um, so the best way I can explain this is everything in your whole closet is real, right? It may be out of style and out of date, but your clothes are all very real, right? So, but you'll notice the difference when you put on a cotton t-shirt versus, hot again. You'll notice the difference when you put on a cotton t-shirt as opposed to when you go and put on something that is a synthetic fabric. Hello, Scott, and welcome back. You won't believe what happened after last night's reading, but don't let me get off on a 2-hour sidebar. I had a conversation with someone today, and the horse thing kept coming up again. So I asked her if she was friends with you. She said she was. She's in the next state over in New Mexico and wants to buy horses. I don't know if she'll reach out to you or not, but I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing, because I told both of you that things were going to come from unexpected places. And yeah, so you're probably an 8 or 10 hour drive from her. But anyway, I digress. Back to this. So you're definitely going to be picking up that things in the hologram are static or synthetic, right? Okay, but again, if we talk about our closet and you open the door and you look at your closet, you're like, wow, look at all these beautiful things I have to wear. But I have very few things that are synthetic fabric anymore. It's not a frequency that I can tolerate, but some of my dress clothes, like dresses and stuff, still are. But the majority of the time, when I'm going through that closet in there, I want something that's 100% cotton, or I want something that's wool. And there's a reason for that. So you're picking up things on the holograph, in the holograph. You are feeling them, the energy or the synthesis of that, or the vibrational frequency of that thing. So just like some days you go, no, I definitely want to, I feel more comfortable wearing this. The reason is because that's cotton or that's wool. We should be wearing cotton, linen, wool, and hemp. We should not be wearing anything else because of the static electricity that incites. So, same thing with people. Same thing with some of the stuff that is out there on videos that we're seeing. Some of it is blue beam, which would be synthetic or artificial intelligence. Some of it is extraterrestrial, terrestrial or interdimensional, which is what I will call SI. Okay, so SI to me means sovereign integral or sovereign intelligence. Now, we can all make choices. So we could really say that we're all sovereign beings, but we're not. So if you go back to the example of what it feels like to wear a 100% cotton t-shirt or to wear a wool sweater versus when you dress up and you put on that shirt and you feel itchy and sweaty and staticky and weird. If you guys are as hypersensitive as I am, you will be noticing that. Yes. Wow, 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 double wow, and throw in an extra horse. Oh, Scott. So the reason why I wanted to make that simple explanation is because when people think, when you're talking about artificial intelligence, that you're talking about something that's only a computer, there is no realness to it. I'm telling you, you could even have children with synthetic beings. You can be working with these people. There's a possibility these people are your parents. Now, it's a very fine line because we want to be patient, we want to be moderate, and we want to be balanced. So we're not cutting everybody off that we think is an artificial intelligence, so to speak, or a static in the hologram, so to speak. But what we don't want to do, we do not want to create anything. If we're talking about things that are messianic, we don't want to be taking up mission. This is going to sound rude, okay? But you don't want your mission to involve artificial intelligence. When I sit down to write an article or write something out, or I'm writing on Facebook, there's that little AI button. I could write a couple sentences and have them fill it in for me. I don't do that, and I'm never going to do that. Why? Because it's not authentically coming from your generated heart energy, and that's super, super important. So, do I recommend having children with someone that's artificial intelligence, or do I suggest? And again, if you're working in a bank, you can't go in there and say, I'm sorry, I'm not working with Scott because he's obviously not a sovereign being. He's an artificial intelligence. You just have to decide where you are. And your power needs to lie in what part of life you're in right now. So if you're working as a teller in a bank, um, yeah, I know. I'm having the same problem with fabric altogether, Nikki. If you're working with someone in a bank, it's not gonna make a difference how many of the tellers, or if there are any tellers that are artificial intelligence as opposed to sovereign intelligence, okay? It's not gonna make a difference. But when you're marrying someone or having babies with someone or working on your life's work with someone, it is important, and that's the reason why I'm talking about what I'm talking about right now. Okay. Also, we're going to talk about our exploding sun. And I don't know, Scott, you were here last time. I don't know if you watched the whole video or not. Nikki, I don't know if you did. Parts of this video are not going to make sense if you haven't seen the last video, because what I'm about to talk about is a reverberation of energies and information that I gathered on 12/12 and 12/13 through 12/16. The video is about 12/12 through 12/16, but specifically two sets of information that came from the 12th and 13th of December are reverberating back to us now. So, yeah, free will and all, do what you like with that. So, synthetic static holograms. Why is this even important? So, here's the thing. There are so many people on social media that it's like, well, you're trying to wake someone up. You've been trying to wake someone that they don't care. They're not getting it. Deer in headlights, right? What is that about? There's going to be a lot of people that don't know what you're talking about when you start talking, right? And that's not what I'm talking about. When you get deer in headlights, it's because it's not in their program. And what I was starting to say earlier is, this person is going to congratulate you on your marriage and how beautiful your baby shower is and how lovely your wedding pictures are and everything else. And they are really, really real, because if you think about it, marriage and babies and work life and all of that stuff and wedding pictures, it's all stuff that all of us do. So it's stuff that's written into the program. And again, we have to be patient and balanced and moderate with this, but I am going somewhere with this, I promise. So just like you're picking up things in the hologram that may be static, like maybe you've seen a video of drones and from the frequency or vibration, or even the sound, that the video is not real, or perhaps the video was taken of something that came from Project Blue Beam, and not an actual occurrence. Okay, so there's all this shit going on. And you have to decide through the shitstorm what is a sovereign creation, what and whom is a sovereign creation, and what is artificial intelligence. And the only reason that it matters is because you don't want to waste your energy. God, I wish I was more computer technical, because it drives me crazy that I get notifications the entire time I'm on here. Just like my last 2 days of readings have been nonstop text message notifications and phone calls, which I almost never get unless I'm doing a reading. And the more important it is, the more interruptions. Okay, so static, synthetic, hologram. Okay, you're picking up on this. What's the sovereign integral, or what is a sovereign intelligence? Meaning you have the same program as that person: get married, have babies, get an education, pay your taxes. You have the same thing that the sovereign integral or the sovereign intelligence has, the same initial blueprint as artificial intelligence. The difference is you'll never get past the deer in headlights. So I've talked to people and it's like, well, you can't spend your entire life trying to wake people up that haven't chosen to wake up. And people always respond to me in the exact same way. It's the most irritating phrase I've heard in the last decade. I'm just dropping seeds. This is the whole reason for this conversation. One, I want you to realize anytime anything happens on a personal level, it also happens on a macrocosmic or world stage, universal, omniversal, multiversal level. Okay. So when I'm telling you there are synthetic beings, I'm also telling you there are synthetic stories, there are going to be synthetic movies. We have a synthetic sun right now, okay? And we're going to get to that as well. But if you're picking up on this static synthetic hologram, then that's how you know you are a sovereign integral, or you are a sovereign intelligence. Again, meaning we all have the same initial template, but there is the extra DNA which can turn on and start allowing and inviting all kinds of other things that artificial intelligence alone does not have. And we have to stop, we need to think outside the box and stop thinking that just because that person doesn't look like a robot, that they're not an artificial intelligence. Okay. There's a difference between an SI, a sovereign integral or sovereign intelligence, than there is an artificial intelligence. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because the point of ascension, and this is going to be an ascension update as well, where we are, it's incredibly important, as fast as this energy is moving, that we don't want to drag our feet. We don't want to get bored. We don't want to get stuck with partners or coworkers or perhaps family members that aren't interested in anything we're talking about. They don't want to hear anything that we're talking about, that kind of stuff. Okay, so deer in headlights. Okay, so deer in headlights. Let's say I pick up the phone right now and I call Scott and I start talking about something Scott's never heard of before. Scott and I are on a similar frequency, wave frequency of vibration and information, right? So in that instance, Scott may say, well, you know what? Wow, I've never heard of that before. That makes so much sense. What's what? And I'm going to start looking up. I'm going to look into that. Now, even though he didn't know anything about it prior to having the conversation, he's going to pick up on it is the frequency of truth. Now, that doesn't mean Tina Hammond is speaking truth, only truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, to Scott. That means Tina is talking the truth from the expanded consciousness, a level of awareness where she is right now, and that's pinging with Scott. So even though Scott knew nothing about what I was talking about when I brought it up to him, it's going to hit a ding, 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 ding. That's why they call it resonate, right? It's a dinging in your system. Now, every single thing that was ever written or told or fabricated, made up, we cannot say this thing doesn't resonate with me, therefore it's not true. because everything is true, right? So a bunch of mobsters stole a planet, caused them to be slaves, and put them in a matrix, right? Is that true? That depends on your level of understanding of the matrix itself. So anything that I'm saying is going to be part and piece of the truth. It just depends whether it's relevant to you right now, whether it's going to resonate. Now, the also someone could start talking to you about, horrific crimes against humanity and stuff, and that also may not resonate just because you learned that 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and it's no longer on your it's no longer on your radar. To say something resonates or doesn't resonate simply means you're on the frequency. It doesn't mean there's not any truth to it, because even though the Illuminati may come up with this amazing story and give it to you and tell everybody, oh, there's this deadly thing and everyone's going to die and give me money and pay big pharma. Okay. That's called a psyop. That was a psyop, so we could say it wasn't true. But when we look at it, look at all the pieces of truth with it, there were a lot of pieces. So anybody's creating anything, any kind of story, any kind of creation, any kind of co-creation whatsoever, there's truth to everything. So you can't say to someone, that doesn't resonate with me, therefore it's not true. That just means it's on a different frequency level than you are. Maybe you're already past that 20 stages, or maybe you're not there yet. Okay. We resonate with each other when we are on the same frequency wave of information. The reason I'm telling you this is at this heightened space where things are popping up and manifesting in reality like crazy, like all, healing, spontaneous healing, miracles, money, all of these things are happening. So we don't want to drag our feet or let other people hold our energy back from our power to create and co-create with each other. Again, a very fine line. We're not going to go into the bank and say, you know what, I'm not dealing with Brad because Brad is artificial intelligence and I'm not down with it. I don't resonate with it. That doesn't work well, right? So we're being smart enough to know when we need it. When we need to go into the bank and get a roll of quarters for the laundry machine, it doesn't matter if it's artificial intelligence giving us a roll of quarters, okay? But if we're making babies with that person or we're doing our mission with that person, we do want that person to be a sovereign integral or a sovereign intelligence as opposed to an artificial intelligence. Because if you don't, you'll never get anywhere because you'll spend the rest of your fucking life being bored out of your mind. And again, we're not disengaging. We're not, cutting everybody off in reality. Okay. So what this is, how this works, you are, and the people that are here on my feed, none of you at the current moment, Rennie, Nikki, Scott, I don't know a single person, a single one of you that is currently doing this, but there are people that are still. Okay, so when you learn this big group of information, you go on, you're supposed to ascend to a new set of information, ascend to a new set of information. Some people are very, very stuck in a certain set of information, whatever that thing may be. Okay, they're stuck there, and it's very, very boring. But here's the other part. When you're learning it, while you're in the middle of learning something, let's say political corruption, for an example, and you're talking to friends and you're talking to family and you're really waking up, then you've done all of your studying on this stuff. When that's going on, you should be doing that. But once you passed it, you should not be. The reason I'm telling you this is the deer in headlights syndrome. Okay. Now, I'm not saying again that you go around thinking this person could be artificial intelligence. Therefore, I'm not going to speak. And again, we need to be neutral and balanced and patient and very tempered with other people. Again, it's just my personal feeling We don't want to be having babies or doing mission or doing massive co-creations with things that are artificial intelligence. There's so much you could read into that. One, your proprietary material may be stolen. Two, you're going to be bored out of your mind. Three, you're never going to get that symbiotic relationship that comes from two SIs working together when you have an SI working with an AI. Okay, so deer in headlights is designed for a reason for you. Okay, so if you say to Scott something, and I just said, if you say something to him, he's like, wow, I never heard of that. Let me look that up. That sounds absolutely fascinating. Okay, that was what Scott's first response is. But then if I say to Scott, listen, I want to send you something, or I want to tell you about something, and I tell him about it, and he's like, and he's just shocked. That's your first indication, okay? Because somebody who is not artificial intelligence is not, they might say, I never heard of that. They might say that sounds crazy. They might say a lot of different things, but they're not going to give you that look that your computer gives you when you're trying to do an Excel spreadsheet when you're in Word document. Okay. I'm trying to, computer literacy is not my thing here. So deer in headlights, right? So deer in headlights, and by people trying to wake people up, or my most hated, dreaded thing, right? Your trigger is your opportunity to heal. But right now, my trigger and my opportunity to heal is people say, well, I'm just going to drop seeds. Here's what you're doing when you're dropping seeds. If I drop a seed to Scott and Scott is deer in headlights, walk away with the seed. Okay. There is no seed planting going on. Okay. So my phone has all kinds of things on it. It has Zelle. It has the pattern on it. It has Facebook. It has YouTube. It has TikTok. It has my banking app. It has all sorts of things, 20, 30, 40 different things. The computer that I'm using to film on right now has whatever it came with that I don't use. So don't ask me what that is. And it has Facebook, and it has YouTube, and it has Google. So by you completely choosing to keep putting out this information, the same information after you already know it, and again, when you're going through it is when you're dropping seeds and educating others. When you change levels yourself, the only way you're going to be self-taught is by teaching yourself and then changing what you're putting out, what your output is, right? So that we're not getting stuck. So me trying to plant a seed with somebody that's given me deer in headlights would be me sitting down, and I just told you this computer has Google, Facebook, YouTube. I believe that's it. Okay. And the only thing I use on this computer is Facebook and YouTube. Okay. So if I'm sit down in front of this computer and I'm trying to type for PNC Bank app, it's not going to do anything. Me dropping a seed to this computer and telling it to go to a banking app that is not downloaded, or not an app that is not on here, is the equivalent of what we're doing by steamrolling people with information and trying to plant seeds with people. We've either chosen to wake up or we're not. And like I said, it's very, very needs to come from a place of patience and neutrality and all this. But if you're getting deer in headlights, that would be the same as me sitting here and talking to my computer and saying, Alexa, pull up my banking app. Alexa, pull up my banking app. My computer doesn't have a banking app, and I don't have Alexa. You're trying to interface with something that doesn't fucking exist. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now, don't feel bad or get your feelings hurt. And I hope we can get this information around. It's so important because there are people who should be dropping seeds, and there are people who should be posting articles on governmental corruption and pedophilia and all this other stuff, but it's not you. And if you're doing that, you're dragging your feet, you're adding weight, and you're keeping yourself stuck. Okay. That would be like me yelling at my computer and saying, give me my banking app, give me my banking app. There's nothing there. The banking app doesn't exist. Okay. So when you're dealing with artificial intelligence versus a sovereign intelligence, and again, we all have the same base program, the DNA in the artificial intelligence is not capable. Now, I don't know that 100 years from now or 3,000 years that it might not be capable. I kind of hope that it's not, because it sounds pretty dangerous to me. But right now, that's how it is. We have a sovereign intelligence and we have an artificial intelligence. Okay. So 1212 and all the information that came from 1212 and through 1215. On 12, I don't know, 16, 19, it just doesn't stop. Okay. It has slowed down, thank God. It's starting to get massive writer's cramp. But anyway, so the information that came in from December 11th through December 15th. I was then shown around the 16th or 17th at the December, that guess what? We're going to have a little, what I like to call mirror party or ricochet party. I should have seen this coming initially, but I had a lot of information. So everything that I talked about that was part of 1212, and what I talked about was a teeny little portion of my information in that last video about 1212. So everything that we did, and like what I talked about in the last video, there was, I always have props, but there's never enough. So let's say that we had a holographic inorganic overlay on the planet. Let's say that's right here. And this is a big part of the last video. There was a design that was the original planet and the original sun and the original human. And it was overlaid with a program to control and manipulate and usurp not just you, but planet Earth itself, sentient life, our sun, everything. Okay. So what happened with this original sun, original planet, original human being, with this entrapment piece of crap that is a military project, the military messages, I have to be careful with that. On 1212, there were a group of people, the 12 tribes that I talked about in the last video. We didn't do this physically. We energetically shut it down. Do you understand? So that which is running this has a new program. I need to have a computer programming friend or family member or something. I don't. Okay. You guys all know how illiterate I am, and I probably wouldn't believe anything I was saying if I wasn't. We had this original human, this original template, right here. Okay. And then wham, shut it down. Okay. It was shut down. On 1212, a group of people energetically took this little code and said, bye-bye, suckers. Okay. So can you hear the ambulance in the background? That's going to be a big part of this. So I don't know if you have noticed it. I guess I'll probably need my notes to be over here. I don't know if you have noticed it. It's been what, 3 days, I'd say, of dogs barking. Today I actually heard cats fighting. And for a minute, I thought it was like the neighbor's TV or something. Cats are fighting. People are fighting. In my apartment, there's no noise in this building whatsoever. Hello, Susan. How are you? And it's very, very quiet, but that's what's going on. Dogs are barking, cats are fighting, people are fighting, heart attacks, strokes. Um, we already know the importance of taking care of ourselves. Okay, so on 1212, what this group of beings did energetically was freed us from this system. And as I said in the last video, when you have an animal in the zoo for 20 years and you open the cage, how long does it take them to walk out? How long does it take them to act normal after that? I don't know. How long is it going to take us to shift or act normal? There's so many incredible things going on. I really don't want to make this another 2-hour video, but all of what happened, this, if you think in terms of computer programming and you have a program running and you want to do a system update, I would imagine you would have to shut down the computer to override one system with another. When I tell you that there are sovereign intelligences on this planet, the earth is a sovereign intelligence. The sun is a, or was a sovereign intelligence. Many of us are a sovereign intelligence, but there are many artificial intelligences out there as well. Okay. And this is being done by this overlay. So the things that happened, the things that went down on 1212, if you haven't seen the last video, just go watch it. I was told are going to reverberate back on 1221, back into the mirror that I talked about. Um, and then I was told the things that I received on 1213 were going to come back on 1231, New Year's Eve. I'm sure I'll be staying home for that one. So what is coming back on 1221, or what came back on 1221, is the energetic repercussions of what this group of people and what you and I did and accomplished. That was to override the systemic manipulation, and usurpment and control of this planet. Again, I don't know how long it's going to take to get back to normal, but there's so many amazing energetic switches that are coming. So what went out on 1213, which was part of that last video, is coming back on 1231. And my God, guys, that was a lot. So what you are putting on your body is just as much, if not more important than what you're putting in your body, right? So let's say you're a normal person that eats good and you stop at McDonald's for some French fries. Well, your body probably knows what to do that with that junk if you don't eat it very often, right? If you're eating that stuff all the time, it scrambles the signal of the body, meaning you're going to have it again. You could be smoking cigarettes. You could be having an occasional glass of wine. You could be eating, a hamburger from McDonald's on a great occasion. I'm not talking about people in moderation again. People living this way, you are scrambling the signal. Now, if you get wasted drunk, the signal is scrambled, right? Sometimes we feel like shit or we're sad, so we want to get wasted drunk. We want to scramble the signal on purpose. I scrambled my signal a lot in my early 30s, okay? But yeah, so scrambling the signal. Now, the French fries from McDonald's may scramble your signal for an hour or two. If you are walking around wearing clothes that are all synthetic, you are scrambling your signal. You're scrambling the signal from the sun. You're scrambling the signal of your DNA. You know that the body is surrounded with your energetic or toroidal field, right? Just like the earth has a toroidal field. Your North Pole is up here. You're constantly circling around and recycling that information that is in your field. But what you are putting on your skin is just as important as what you're putting in your mouth. Okay. So if you are walking around wearing synthetic fabric all the time, there's a couple things. One, you do that toroidal field starts to fill up with static when you wear things that are conducive or conductive to static electricity. The other thing is we all have Wi-Fi in our homes, and some people have smart washers, smart dryers, that kind of stuff. All of this creates static in your field. Okay. And the thing about a synthetic fabric, so basically there is linen, cotton, hemp, and wool that we should be wearing. Anything outside of that, first of all, it magnetizes dirty electricity and Wi-Fi, but it not only magnetizes, it actually holds it in there. Is everything going okay, you guys? It says that the comment stopped, I don't know, a while ago, and it says that there's not one person here, which I find a little bit bizarre that every single person would have left this video. So what we're putting on our body is important. Synthetic fabric, whether that's, your coat, your undergarments, your clothing, is a magnet. It is a magnet to static electricity and dirty electric, but not only that, it holds it in your body's auric field, whereas cotton or wool and things like that are breathing. Okay, you guys are still here. That is so bizarre. It's definitely telling me there's no one here. Well, I'm glad it's working in the middle of a solar storm, and I want to try to get to all of this. That's really odd. Okay, so I've explained to you synthetic clothing. I've explained to you synthetic people. I've explained to you the synthetic overlay that was the matrix. And even though many have learned, you have learned how to maneuver past it and get information and be outside of that electric fence, so to speak, it was still there in a very big way for the masses. Now let's talk about the sun. You guys know that I remote view the sun. It's the only thing that I use remote viewing for. I can't see the sun when it's covered up by whatever mechanical piece of crap has been up there. I noticed, let's see, I started remote viewing the sun in one form or another in 2012. And I would say it started around 2019. Oh, okay, awesome. YouTube is just lying to me and trying to make me feel special. Everybody left. So I've been remote viewing the sun since about 2012. 2019, I go out to remote view it and I can't see it anymore. So your eyes are like a telescope and also like a microscope. You cannot believe how incredibly amazing the way we were built by these people who took our consciousness and our spirits and coerced us into a body. Our eyes can be a telescope, they can be a microscope, they can be an x-ray, all of these things. So I would go out and I did sun gazing mostly, late at night. You don't want to be staring directly at the sun all the time. But so I would look at the sun in the middle of the day just for just a couple of seconds, look directly at it without any sunglasses. And then afterwards, I would close my eyes and I could see the sun perfectly. I could see where the sunspots were. I could see ships parked on the side of the sun. I could see the filtration system they had set up for the sun, all of it. And so that started in 2012. And was it 2019? I think it was 2019 or 20. I couldn't see it anymore. And I was really concerned because it was there. It was bright and beautiful and gorgeous. and I would look at it for a couple of seconds and then close my eyes, and there was nothing. There was nothing there. So we're seeing the light of the sun, but they're covering it up for a multitude of reasons. They know that it is the inspiration, um, it is the ignition of the DNA. And of the, it's the ignition or the dynamite or C4 stick. If you watched a lot of cop dramas like me, the sun is the stick of C4 that is turning that DNA on. Okay. They're trying to slow it down. This is anything new or surprising here to us. Um, but it did startle me, and it did really concern me that I was not able to see the sun. And this is remote viewing. Like, I could lay down on my bed in meditation, close my eyes, put a pillow over my head, make it really dark, and remote view the sun. I can't do that anymore. I have to solely rely on what I'm feeling. Um, and I think it was, gosh, I want to say like December of 2023, I went out and I stared at it, and I actually did see it. And I came back and I made a video, and I told you, oh my God, in 48 hours, we're about to have the X class of the century. And we did, because I was able to actually see it again. So part of the reason they're covering it up is because they don't want the things to come online, but the things are coming online so fast. It's like we're back to the whack-a-mole game at the fair again, right? So they don't want this DNA to come online. So, hey, let's just cover up the C4, the ignition stick that's lighting it. But at the same time, we have the ability to remote view the sun and or hear the sun when it fires off, because the DNA is already kicked up. And sorry about your luck. To those guys, right? Girls, whomever they may be, artificially intelligent, artificially unintelligent is what I say. Artificially unintelligent. But yeah, so maybe you're picking up on the fact that things are synthetic. Maybe it's people at your work. Um, maybe it's people in your family. Maybe you're noticing the difference in the sun. Now, am I suggesting that they put the sun on a dolly and rolled it out of our sector of the universe? No, I'm not. What I can only describe what it looks like when I can see it is it looks like, but the problem with this is you have to take things with a grain of salt when you're remote viewing, because your higher source or a higher information or higher guidance or higher self is going to show you something the way that you can easiest understand it. So does that mean that the sun has a literal chastity belt on? Yeah, I'm thinking probably it does not. But nevertheless, it had what I can only describe as it looked like a metal contraption over the sun, like they just put something over the sun. Okay, they put an overlay, an inorganic manipulative overlay over the sun, just like they did over Earth, just like they created these inorganic. Now you can say these other humans are organic. They have skin, they have organs, they can produce babies, they run on the same basic template that we all have. But if you try to go above anything that's in that template, deer in headlights. Okay. That would be like, again, me yelling at the computer and saying, send money through on Zelle when Zelle is not on this. Okay. You're trying to interface with something that doesn't have the capacity to have a program. And I'm not saying that we are mean or impolite or anything else to these other people. Again, I'm explaining this all to you because the energy is so incredibly magical, and it's so incredibly sped up that if you avoid wasting energy on waking people up, and if you avoid energy wasting on dropping seeds to people that don't have the program to plant, water, or grow the seed, you'll have a lot more energy. I know that with talking to Scott and talking to Melanie today, who was on the video live tarot last night with Scott, and the one other person that I talk with, like, things are happening super magical and very very sped up is the only reason I'm telling you this. Not so that we could ever be rude or judgmental or whatever. You cannot help that any more than I can help my name being Tina Hammond and being born into the Hammond family, right? You can't you cannot help that. Here's the thing. I'm not sure if I'm seeing it now because it's right now, and I tell you guys this a lot, so you're familiar. And I know when you see things and talk to your guides and your higher self, you don't know either if it's tomorrow, yesterday, or 3 months from now. So, we're all in that same boat. I can only see what I describe as a literal explosion from the sun. And I'm not talking about a disaster or some NASA written article about the impeding downtrodden of the grid that's going to take 200 years to get back to civilization. I don't mean that. I looked very briefly today, and there are, and when I say that 1212 is coming back on 1221, guess what? We have 12 active regions, 12 active sunspots. That's a lot of sunspots, you guys. We had an X-class flare earlier today and 10 or 12 M's. I didn't look until today, but I was on the phone and there was a flare that happened while I was on the phone. I started burning and taking off layers and all this during a reading. And the girl I was talking to, I asked her where she got her space weather, and she said Pat Donworth, and I said me too. And I said, okay, let's look at that real quick. So we looked at that. That was pretty incredible. What I want to tell you in saying that, I don't know if it was yesterday, if we did it on 1212, this universal tribal energy, third eye of the planet is Israel. These tribes are not from Israel. That's in the last video also. So hopefully it makes sense to those watching now if you didn't watch it. Israel is the third eye of the planet. The 12 tribes were involved in something that has repercussions and maybe ramifications that will probably basically could be going for the next 3 months. It could be even for the next year. What I saw is whatever they have blocking the sun looks like that itself imploded. Now, unfortunately, when I get these hits, what I love to do is go outside, like I said, look at the sun for a couple seconds, close my eyes, and see what the hell's going on out there. But I can't do that when it's cloudy and rainy every freaking day. And it was gorgeous 3 days ago. I was out walking around with no shoes. It was 60 degrees, December. And I looked up and I saw huge X marks right over my head. So perhaps if that is imploded, that now, hey, we're on plan B, or probably on plan, who knows, plan Z right now. I saw initially 1212 information that's in the last video is that this was the template override back to the organic human. Now, I'm not saying per se that the inorganic or artificial intelligent human that is only running on a script that can't go outside the script, we're running on the script, but we can do anything we want. We can go jump in the ocean and go write a book and go change our lives and never do the same thing again. Artificial intelligence does not have that luxury. So I don't know what the time frame that I'm seeing here. Whatever they were using to cover up the sun has imploded. So is that imploding now? Is it imploding on January 11th? I'm not sure, but the way I see things, they're definitely closer. When I was a kid, I was seeing 30 years out. I was like, what the hell? 30 years later, I'm like, oh, that never even happened. That's not going to happen. I saw the whole COVID thing, right? And I saw it when I was 12. And I just kept seeing it. And by the time of 2018, I was like, wow, damn, it's not going to happen. And then 2019, I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. So I don't know when that's happening. I feel like it already happened. But as most of you know, I feel things when they energetically happen, not when they Mariah Carey make it happen or when it physically happens. Okay. So whatever military thing they were using to suppress humanity is gone. How long does it take you to walk out of the cage if you are an animal held in captivity? I don't know. I would imagine if we blew it off the sun, that I would be able to walk outside and look at that sun and remote view everything that's on it and around it. But ever since I had that vision, it's been cloudy and rainy. Okay. I literally had to put um, protection around this house. The wind was getting so bad, I was worried about losing electricity, and almost never do I mess with the weather. But I did protect the house, and it's totally calm in here to the point where I had to open the fan. But I had some of the windows open because it was like, 60 degrees at the end of December and things were blowing all over the place. So I had to shut the window. But ever since I did that, it's just as quiet as a mouse. So there's a lot going on. Perhaps you are feeling the static from your food. Maybe you're feeling the static from your clothing. Maybe you're picking up on the static from people, from artificial intelligence, through people, through food, through computers, through whatever it is. Are you a sovereign integral or sovereign intelligence, or are you an AI intelligence? And everything that you wear, put on your body, everything that you eat. That's why I showed you this huge copper belt. It's 5 wraps of copper, and it goes around my entire body 3 times to pull in that pure frequency, which overrides the other crap. And this place is kind of minimal for dirty electricity and stuff like that. But either way, um, there are so many things going on synthetically in this hologram, not just, perhaps family members or coworkers or neighbors. There's a lot of videos that are being that are just AI videos. I'm not saying that there aren't drones or spaceships. I have started capturing, you know, UFOs or UAPs or whatever, all the way back to as soon as I think I actually had a cell phone with a camera, I was capturing those, so I know they're real. But just keep yourself balanced and tempered, because there are synthetic people. There's a lot of synthetic videos or a lot of articles that are synthetic. I even noticed when interacting with someone a couple of weeks ago through Facebook, there was a post that really was, it was very well written, but it was very, very strange. It gave me a very strange vibe. So I went into the comments to see what was going on. And the way this person, at the speed at which this person responded to people, and they would say, like, they would have a lowercase letter and then an uppercase letter, then lower, then upper. You know how people do when they're like scrapbooking and stuff to make it more interesting. But there are hundreds of comments like that. And I'm like, oh, these people are all interacting with artificial intelligence. And then now you see on Facebook, like where it says Tina Hammond, then whatever, underneath some of these people's names, it'll say like artist, digital creator. Um, but now it says artificial intelligence on some people's um, profiles. So really interesting. We're in a time that's really, really heating up. I know we had an X flare, 217 Eastern Standard Time, last night. Well, I guess that technically would be this morning. We had that at 217. We had 10 or 11 M's, but that was like 4 hours ago. I don't know how many we had. And I don't know if the vision of the implosion of whatever that safeguard was over the sun to stop us from seeing it. There's never been a time when more people are buying these crazy extensions for their phones and their cameras. There's never been a time when people have been more interested in the sun and space weather and all of that. On top of that, they are aware that the sun is the stick of C4 that is igniting the DNA. All right. So they're trying to block that. Hopefully, and like I said, unless it's an emergency, I try not to mess with the weather. But I'm going to ask for an hour tomorrow just to be able to see the sun, because I want to see if it's gone. I want to know if it is it Mr. Right or is it Mr. Right now. I want to know if it already happened or if this is something that's going to happen. We have a lot of really big dates coming up. January 11th is a huge day. We jump from Libra South Node, Aries North Node over to Virgo South Node, and Pisces North Node, which very interestingly, um, that's when I was born. That is my North and South Node. My destiny is lining up perfectly with the North and South nodes this year. So that's very interesting. Pay attention to what you're eating, how you're feeling about whether things are synthetic. A lot of times when things look good or sound good, we'll say something about this feels off, but that can't be right. It looks good. It looks legit. You have to trust that your field can pick up on things in your field that are synthetic. And occasional synthetic food and occasional, maybe your wedding dress or your evening gown or something is synthetic, whatever, but don't do it on a regular basis. It's blocking higher self, it's blocking guidance. And the every once in a while cheeseburger and the other every once in a while, synthetic pair of pants or dress is not going to be the end all be all. But there's so much static in syntheticism in the hologram right now that you need to be a clear channel so that you know the difference between SI and AI. Okay, this is the second longest video. I think that's it. I will tell you that the majority of the information received on December 11th and 12th was about 12 tribes and the overlay and all of that stuff. Watch that video, please, if you haven't. It's really important. After the 12th, from more to the 13th to the 17th, it was more about the sun and the static energy. And so I'm telling you, whatever that you were using to block the human template, it's gone. How long does it take the animal to leave the cage? I don't know. How long does it take the earth frequency itself to recover from that lockdown? I don't know. How long does it take for what looked like, I'm sure it wasn't metal, I'm sure it was way more high tech than that, but it looked metal or metallic to me, thing that was blocking the sun before it implodes? I'm guessing that the absence of that, when you're cooking something or you have something next to you have the stove on, let's say you're making pasta on the stove, and you have another pan over here that's a foot away from it, that pan still gets hot. If that synthetic, it's like it is so quiet, you guys. You would think I live out in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, except for the ambulance, fire trucks, and police every 5 minutes. If that has already happened, then and we're in a solar cycle where things are just heating up and getting very intense on the sun, but also like the pot that gets warm next to the pot where you're making spaghetti, there is a possibility if this thing was C4'd out of existence, if we got rid of that, then there is the possibility that that is one of the things that helped to heat up or spark the sun in that many places simultaneously. What I do expect on the 31st or between the 30th, I almost said the 30th and the 32nd. Okay, now I'm adding days to the calendar. That's great. Between the 30th and the 1st or 2nd of January, I think we can expect major, because again, all that I received, all that happened, all that was computed, all that was overwritten on 12/12, between 12/12 and 12/13, it is now 12/12 already came back. What is 12/21? 12/21 is the mirror of 12/12, right? Right? So all of that information from the 13th is coming back to Earth on the 31st. How much of it's coming from the sun? I don't know. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, I didn't miss anything. Neutrality, peace, understanding, love, and gratitude. I know there are people in my life that are artificial intelligence. I will never stop being polite or stop engaging, right? Because that's good energy that you're just putting out in every direction all the time. And that's the point of it. But I won't be having any babies with them. I won't be doing any missions with them. I won't be doing any mixing of energy in the bedroom with those people. I'm saying, it's important to be able to understand that. And it's important because this is a time when our energy is so creative and co-creative and so expansive. We want to do this stuff that we've wanted to do for so long. The energy's so fast, so hard, and we just want to do it and do it right now. And the best way to do that is to free yourself and not be in permanent or serious situations with artificial intelligence. You can interact and be in situations. Don't be in permanent or serious situations with artificial intelligence. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Until next time. Bye.